Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. Hey there, how's it going, eh? This is Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday, a special weekly episode that is a compilation of games that content creators have played recently. And this week is a short holiday season episode because, everybody's busy.
Robb and from the Meeple Dungeon.
And on this episode
we are
are
back again.
the Meeple Dungeon,
podcast, and
Board on the Air,
what game is that, Anna Marie?
Meeple and the Moose,
Turing Machine, designed
and
by
Cardboard
Fabian
Conjecture.
And Johan Levitt.
And as
Art by
always,
Sebastian
while you're
Bezos and
letting
published
that
by
stuffing
Scorpio
and
Mascade.
massive
Turing
holiday
Machine.
season
Not
supper
the Turing Machine, my mistake.
kind of
Turing Machine.
Yeah.
sit there,
So this
tap
is
on the show
based
notes
off
and check
of
out the links to the What You've Been Playing
a
Wednesday
code
cast.
cracking,
Hey,
old school punch
enjoy.
card computing system. This is a very hello everybody. It's Robb and Anna Marie from the Meeple Dungeon.
Hello.
And we are back again recording for the Whatcha Been Playing Wednesdays podcast, and we have one game to talk about this week. What game is that, Anna Marie?
That game is the Turing Machine, designed by Fabian Gradel and Johan Levitt, art by Sebastian Bezos, and published by Scorpio Mascade.
Yeah, Turing Machine.
Yeah, not the Turing Machine, my mistake. Turing Machine.
Yeah. So this is based off of a code cracking, old school punch card computing system. This is a very unique game.
Yes.
Very, very unique game. So what you're trying to do is guess a 3-digit code.
Yes.
Using literal, like old technology, computer punch card technology. And it is just wildly weird. You have a main...
that should be on the box. It's wildly weird.
You have this main kind of board with 6 different sections to it: A, B, C, D, E, and F. And each one of those is going to correspond to a different clue that you can decipher using a certain card. This is very difficult to explain if you don't know what I'm looking at in front of me.
So yeah, you've got the code cards. So they'll be, for example, it will I'm gonna mess this all up. Okay,
It's very difficult to explain.
You're picking a 3-digit number, and let's say you picked 421. You're then gonna take these little cardboard pieces that have the punches out of them.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm going to pick the blue triangle as the first digit. And so let's say I picked the 4. So that
always
one
goes blue, orange, purple.
Yes.
In that order. And you pick a number for each one of them.
Yes, you've got blue first. Then you're going to pick the 2, and the 2 is going to be the yellow or the orange.
Or yellow or whatever.
And then the 1 is going to be the purple, because that's just the first digit is blue, second is yellow, third is purple.
Yeah.
And then
you start with a random. It's like I go, like you said, 421 or whatever.
And you have a stack of these cards. So you're going to get them, and you're going to put them in order. And then, so they all pile together, and there will be some holes that are open where they all overlap.
Yeah, you lay them on top of each other to make one single square.
Yes.
And it's going to
it'll have a gap in
it. Holes open and certain ones covered.
And then, let's say you're picking one of the clues they give you.
Yeah, so because we should say that you pick a scenario that you're going to go for, and then that scenario has got a different clues code hidden in it, and it's going to give you up to 6 different clues to help you figure out that code for that particular scenario.
Yes. So you'll look at the clue that you choose what clue you want to look at. Let's say I look at A, and A is going to say this is going to tell you how many 4s potentially are in the number that you chose. Like, are there, is there exactly 1 4? Are there more than 1 4? Are there no 4s? Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And
that
what
will be attached to another card.
Yes. So then you're going to have, there'll be the clue card. And then next to the clue card, you're going to have a square, which matches kind of the size of your number sheets put together. Mm-hmm. And that will have a bunch of check marks and X's on the back of it.
Yep.
So then you put it against the back of your cards.
Yeah, you slide it in the very back.
The very back. And then in the little gap that's left in your punches, you're going to get a green check mark or a red X. Because there's only going to be one that's available. Yep. Those cards will only overlap in one way. And depending on the scenario you picked, it's going to tell you, okay, there is one. You have 421 as your number. There is 1 4 in your number. You're going to get a check mark. If it's like there is 1 4, check. Perfect.
Yeah, using that certain arm with that certain clue and that certain card to put behind it is going to say, like you said, the number of 4s. And if you see a green check mark and your number was 421,
that there is exactly 1 4.
There is exactly 1 4 in your code, but you don't know if the 4 is in the right spot.
Exactly.
So you have to now move on to a different arm of this machine to figure out a different clue. Go down one of the other paths that may say, maybe that let's find out if the blue number is bigger or smaller or equal to the purple number.
Yes.
And then you have to deduce using these different arms of this machine to figure out what number you're looking for. And the object is to try and figure out the number in the least amount of
clues
given or taken possible.
Yes, because so you can pick up to 3 clues per round.
Yes.
And so then at the end of each round, you're going to basically together decide thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to make a guess at the number or if you still need to keep going. If thumbs up, you got a guess, great. If the other person had thumbs down, will you make your guess? If you're right, you win.
Yep.
If you're wrong, you're lose. And you're out, right? So you have to, but if you both say, yep, okay, we think we got it, then you look, and if you both got it right, then you need to see how many clues you each have given, and whoever got it in the least amount of clues wins, or you share the victory if you got it in the same amount.
This is less a board game, more of an activity.
Yeah,
but my goodness,
brain burning fun.
It is, yeah. And I'm very poor with numbers and things like this. So I think
you've done very well.
I've done pretty good, honestly. Yeah, I have. I've done okay at it. So for even a guy like me that's not a numbers guy, I can still participate in this and actually do fairly well. I keep up.
And I would hazard a guess to say you enjoy it.
I do. No, I do. I didn't know what to expect from this, and I was intimidated out the gate because there's a few nuances to it that I just was not understanding. Yeah. But once I did kind of understand what it was trying to tell me and what I was supposed to look for, I do get it now. So I think I can apply that to whatever scenario comes, because whatever scenario you pick, the different arms and different clues are totally dictated, entirely different from one scenario to the next. So you might have like that card that says it's going to tell you how many 4s you have, but that card, that arm of the machine might not be in the next game.
No, for sure.
Or likely won't be.
Yeah.
Right? So this game is just wildly crazy.
Oh, yeah. It is a lot of fun.
It's interesting. It's fun. It's neat. It's if you're a numbers person, you're going to love this. If you're not a numbers person, I think you can still have some
puzzly. If you're a puzzly person too, right? You like those.
Yeah,
types
it's a puzzle.
Of things.
Is what it is. Yeah, but it still is numbers and So, but no, it's interesting. It's cool.
I really like it. I think it's awesome.
Recommend you giving it a go if that interests you at all. So I think that's it for this week, and we will see you next week. Cheers.
See ya.
So this is based off of a code cracking, old school punch card computing system. This is a very...
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are Board on the Air, a weekly radio show in Saskatoon, and this is What Have You Been Playing? On tonight's show, we're going to talk about...
First Rat.
Yes.
A 1 to 5 player game?
Yes, it is.
It's really fun. A nice, simple game. I would say probably if you're rating games from the 0 to 5 scale, probably a 1.2 to 1.5.
Yeah, I would say it's not extremely light, but not medium by any means.
Yeah.
In it, you are going to be moving in it, you are rats trying to get to the moon to get to the cheese, and you are collecting stuff to build different parts for your rockets, and you're also building stockades of cheese
For
the
survival.
trip.
And you're also bringing electricity up to it, and wandering around the tunnels to make more rats.
Yeah, and you're training your rats to become ratternauts. On it,
In the game, you do one of two main actions for movement, and then everything else will usually happen as you go on. So
yeah, you move, you collect, you can buy from one of the 4 spots, and then you can contribute to the rockets.
yeah. So with your movement, you can move one rat 1 to 5 spaces, or you can move all your rats 1 to 3 spaces, but they all have to land on the same color of space.
Yeah, and there's some abilities that are going to give you some stuff that breaks the game, like make some spaces look the same or same color. Other ones that are going to give you extra when you collect stuff, and some that give you some more movement. You can also get some endgame scoring,
boosts to resource collection.
Yeah.
As you said. I've really enjoyed it both times we've played it so far.
Yeah, we played it at 2, we've played it at 4, or 3. Both times, a lot of fun. Both times, the teach is fairly straightforward.
You just go there and you get what it tells you.
Yeah, the only thing that's tricky at all is counting how many you get, because there's a few different tracks you move up on, and one of them's a light bulb track, and if it's past where you land,
you get a bonus resource to what you normally would get of each area that activates.
Yeah, each area you're stopping on. You get that to the top, and it's going to give you some points as well. It's just a solid game. It's very cute looking. It's got a fun theme, but there is some intelligence to this game. There is some thinkiness almost.
Like, there's been a few times in the game where I'm just trying to set my rats up to make one big move onto one color. Like a big light bulb move to get like 10 movement.
Yeah, and you can do a lot. It's not as simple as just move and collect. There is some thought into how you want to do it. There's 2 sides to the game board, one that's set, one that has randomization that's going to give you a little bit more play, as to a little bit more variety as to how the game is set up and how you're going to play it. All in all, this is a game that got a lot of buzz coming out of Gen Con, and also at I believe Essen. They talked about it quite a bit. And the biggest thing they said is it's too cute to be as good a game as it is, right? And I agree with them. It's such a solid game.
Yeah, like, this would be definitely... Like, we have a lot of friends who we love playing games with. I would not be scared to bring this out with them, because sometimes you get these really heavy games that you really enjoy, but you're like, will my friends enjoy it?
Yeah, sometimes if the teach is too hard, or the weight is just a little bit too heavy, you can't play it with everybody. This is one of those games that anybody we play games with, we can bring it out for.
Mm-hmm. When you first look at it, you're like, okay, that's more for like younger people, but there's stuff, there's the depth into it that's like, okay, am I just going to use my 2 rats that I start off with, or am I going to want to get more rats out?
Yeah, there's good decisions in this game, and it makes for a nice, solid, all-around game. And I can see us playing it quite frequently just because of its weight and its approachability and its fun subject, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm David.
And I'm Jordan.
And we'll talk to you next week.
So this is based off of a code cracking, old school punch card computing system. This is a very...
Hello, my name is Alex, and I write board game reviews over at meepleandmoose.com, and I'm here to talk about the games I played this week for Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday. So, I know Canada has a reputation for being a frigid, snow-covered, barren wasteland, and where I grew up in Manitoba, it's true. It's the reason I moved to the west coast and live in a section of the country that barely gets any snow, an average of 33 centimeters or 13 inches over the whole year. This week, we got 40 centimeters in a single evening, so the entire city shut down for a week. My wife and I shoveled the driveway for what feels like the first time in an age, and my weekly game group met online instead. Now, I'm not really a fan of digital gaming. I miss the camaraderie of being shoulder to shoulder with my friends and the tactile feel of games. The plus side of going online, though, is that we get to play a whole different library of games. Games that we're interested in, but not enough to pull the trigger on acquiring a copy of our own. So the first game we played is Flamecraft. Now, I didn't back the Flamecraft Kickstarter campaign, but I was sorely tempted to do so. The regret hit hard when all those who did back the Kickstarter got their games delivered over the past few months, and I kept seeing Flamecraft all over my social media feeds. If nothing else, Flamecraft looks fantastic. One of the first things that gets mentioned whenever the Flamecraft topic is brought up is just how cute the game is. The art by Sandra Tang is filled with a cartoony charm. Easter eggs are tucked away in every nook and cranny, and the names for everything are thematic, charming, and punny. So Flamecraft looks great, but how is the gameplay? Well, the game starts with a few shops around town and 3 dragons in your hand. On your turn, you can visit a shop to gather resources, or enchant the shop. If you choose to gather, you collect resources, one from every emblem symbol that is on the shop, and then you place a dragon from your hand into one of the empty shop slots. Activate a dragon that's in the shop, and activate the shop's ability if there is one. If you choose to enchant instead, you fulfill one of the enchantment recipe cards by turning in the amount of resources depicted on the card and place it above the shop that you're enchanting. This earns you victory points and makes the shop produce more resources on future gather actions. In addition, after you enchant a stall, you can activate every dragon that is currently in that shop. And that's pretty much the whole game. You hop from shop to shop collecting resources, and then trading those resources in to earn points. There's not much more to it than that. As dragons get placed in shops and stalls get enchanted, players earn more resources with each gather action, giving the game a good feeling of momentum. In the first round, collecting 3 goods is pretty good, but then come the end of the game, it's not uncommon to collect 6 or even 8 resources from a single gather action. Similarly, the point accumulation starts off fairly slow, but it picks up rapidly closer to the end game. Everything about Flamecraft screams family game. Its cuteness is alluring, and never underestimate a good-looking game's ability to draw players to a table. Some of the individual turns can get pretty complex, as you need to manage several different dragon abilities and the order in which you want to execute them, and that can cause some analysis paralysis as players try to figure out exactly how they want to use the dragon actions to give them the edge on the game. Overall, I think I'm happy that I didn't back Flamecraft's deluxe Kickstarter. The gameplay is simple, the art is charming, and the puns are funny, but overall, I don't feel terribly pulled to return to the game. It's kind of a straightforward resource collection and recipe fulfillment game. I don't feel like there was anything significant to draw me back to the experience, and the discovery of reading the pun cards only really brings enjoyment during the first game. The next game we played is My City by Reiner Knizia. Now, My City is one of the few legacy games that my group and I actually finished. 24 15-minute episodes broken into 8 chapters, it was easy to pull My City off the shelf to cap off any game night. The tile placement was satisfying, and I don't think any of us felt completely outmatched throughout the entire experience. Today we decided to return to My City and play the Eternal game, which is the one-off, infinitely replayable version of the game. The gameplay is the same. A building is drawn from a deck of cards, and all players need to either place the building on their board or pass, and if they want to stay in the game, lose 1 point. Play continues until either the deck is exhausted or all players have passed and bowed out of the rest of the game. The Eternal game gives points for being the first to build on both gold veins, for every tree spared, for the number of buildings of the same color touching each other, for putting 4 different buildings next to the well, and for having a building of each color abutting the church. All fairly straightforward stuff, and likely conditions you've seen in your daily life. My City continues to charm and be an easy and enjoyable tile laying game. It is so simple to follow along the flow of the buildings, and the short-term goals of have a building of each color touch the church runs directly opposite to the long-term goal of have all the buildings of the same color touch each other. It can be a painful choice to give up a point to pass a really inconvenient tile rather than just trying to cram it into the corner and then it may be missing out on the piece that would have fit perfectly in that spot just a few turns later. Overall, I really enjoy My City, and the Eternal game is like visiting an old friend. It's not doing anything new or exciting anymore, but it's consistent and reliable. I'm looking forward to both My City Roll and Write and My Island. Hopefully, both will show up in 2023. And lastly, another game by Rainer Knizia is Llama. Llama is not but a simple card game. A deck of cards numbered 1 through 6 plus a set of Llama cards, and a bunch of white and black chips. Each player is dealt 6 cards, and a single card is flipped over to form the discard pile. Players need to either play the same card that is on the discard pile, or one number higher, like putting a number 3 card on a number 2. If they can't or don't want to play a card, they can either draw a card or bow out of the round. The round ends when all players have chosen to bow out of the round, or when one player runs out of cards. Once the round ends, everyone with cards remaining in their hand takes points equal to each of the different card faces that they have remaining. One wrinkle is that you only take points for each different value you have. So having 4 5s in your hand would only net you 5 points, while having a 2, 3, and a 4 left in your hand would get you 9 points. Players keep track of their points by taking one white point chip or a black 10-point chip. If someone ends the round by getting rid of all their points, they can return a point chip back to the supply. When someone accrues 40 or more points, the end of the game is triggered, and the player with the lowest score is the winner. Llama is dead simple to teach and offers slightly stressful situations, like, is it worth playing the 5 card from your hand if you have a couple other 5 cards? Or should you play your solitary 6 and hope the deck will come back around to the 5 again? The ebb and flow of taking points and returning points to the supply can mean that someone who was in the lead for most of the game can fall from grace, and the player who lost the first 2 hands horribly can return all those points to the supply and still have a fighting chance. Llama is the kind of game that should live in your travel bag, as it's best played with friends at the local pub. And that's all I have to talk about this week. For more board game reviews, check out my blog, meepleandthemoose.com, and have a happy Wednesday.
So this is based off of a code-cracking, old-school punch card computing system. This is a very...
Hey there, everybody. Norm here from the Cardboard Conjecture podcast. And on Boxing Day, we had relatives over, like everybody, yeah. And I thought, hey, perfect opportunity. Not that, I'm a game pusher on holidays. I'm the exact opposite. But in this case, I know that my brother-in-law and his son are big chess fans. And so I brought out Onitama, and I showed Onitama to them. And for those who've never played Onitama, the best way to explain to it, thematically speaking, your monk priests that are trying to take out the other competing temple. And 2 ways of winning is get any of your pieces, your smaller priests or your high priests, any of those pieces onto the steps of the temple, or take out the high priest. And I'm using my own terms because it's been so long since I've read what the proper thematic identification of the pieces are, And but yeah, it's chess on a 5x5 grid. But here's the unique thing: is that it uses, as the tagline says, assert your martial prowess by harnessing the power of various animal spirits. So in your martial arts, the moves that you make are based on animal spirits, and each component or each piece follows the same movement rules as per the cards that are in play. Now, what cards are in play, you ask? At the beginning of the game, each player takes 2 random cards that display the animal spirit and the way that this animal spirit moves on the board, as I said, 5x5 grid. And the graphic interpretation when you look at the card is you see the 5x5 grid, and then you see a darkened square which represents any of the pieces and the movement pattern that it can do. And of course, it follows the same rules as you can't move off the board. And when you finish a move and land on a piece, if it's the opponent piece, you can take it. If it's your piece, you can't land there. So you get the gist of it. And what you do is when you use a move of the 2 cards on your side, the card that you use, you you don't discard it. You move it into, I call it limbo. You move it into limbo, which is halfway in between you and the other player on the side of the board. And that is the card that they get after they do their move. And when they do their move, the card that they use goes into limbo. And that's how this rotation happens. Now, you can hang on to a card for as long as you want. And I'm referring to you, Dragon card, because some of these cards have such fantastic abilities as far as like the reach and the movement goes. And there's some expansions, and I think there's 2 expansions, which are more cards, more moves. This says it plays 15 to 20 minutes, but when you have 2 very strategic people playing, it can either take 5 minutes or it can take a half an hour. But yeah, they had so much fun with this to the point where I showed them the link on to both my sponsors' pages as to how they could pick this game up, and I believe they did pick it up. So yeah, we got to play. I got to teach and play Onitama and encourage others to follow this fantastic hobby. The other one that I sat down with, did some playing, and it's such a fast game, it plays 10 to 30 minutes, that I was able to play a couple rounds and then go and do some more teaching. And this one's funny. This one reminds me of like Hot Hands, where it's just that whole one person moves and the other one has to reflex, right? It's a reflex game. So I'm talking about taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza. Act fast when the flip card actually is that taco, cat, goat, cheese, or pizza. So what happens, everybody gets a deck of cards, like there's a big deck of cards, and there are those pictures and words on these cards, taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza, and there is a narwhal. I think I'm saying it properly. But yeah, everyone has a stack of cards in front of them, equal stack at the start of the game. And when it's your turn, depending on and it's on the back of the cards, it does say those words. And basically in turn order, you take turns going down that list, saying that word and flipping a card over. If it's not a match, you proceed. If it is a match, everybody goes to slap a hand on the deck. The last hand on the deck picks up the cards in the middle. And basically, yeah, it's this whole get to finish off your deck first kind of strategy of winning the game. Though this one, boy, oh boy, there was some house rules that got really, not house rules, there were some rules that were attended to very diligently. And this is the flinching rule. Because if it says if you make a motion towards the deck, that you take the deck, right? There's no flinching. But we even got it to that if there's a shoulder move, it's yours, right? It was down to the most high noon on the middle of the dirt road, looking at each other, hands waiting for that draw. And the moment someone even like the lip even flickered, someone was flinching, take the pop. But as far as understanding the rules, it's straightforward. I mean, it's so much fun. And then, of course, I mentioned that narwhal. And you know what? I'm not even talking about that. You go discover this game because it's such a fun game, and it's a giggle. It's a giggle fest kind of game. And the last one I quickly want to talk about here is one of my. I was gonna say one of my favorite flicking games, but it's not. We know Crokinole, but if there was a second, even close second, this would be Tumbling Dice, and it's basically flicking shuffleboard. But the genius about it is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cascading levels, and you on the top level is where the tee box, where you take your die 6 and you flick it down this kind of step. Descending step cascade system, and the last step before it's off the board are equally divided little, I call them the little ×4 islands, and there's a square in each corner and one square in the middle, and then there's spaces on either side that are the same distance, so it's kind of like 5 equal spaces and 3 squares and 3 empties. There are little posts at the end of the last two to help keep your die in play. But so what happens is, on your turn, you put your die down, you flick it, and on the tee box level, it's basically the pip value times 0, because if you can't get it out of the tee box area, you suck. The next one, obviously, times 1, times 2, times 3, and then these last little islands are times 4 of your pip value. And I think you know where I'm going here. You have 5d6 dice to go, and you could play this game like Crokinole. You could play it to whatever point value, play to 100, or you can play it to whoever wins that round gets a check mark, and it's the first to 3 check marks kind of thing. This is another one of those family-friendly games that it's, again, it's a developed skill set, because it's just, you got to play it to be not necessarily be good at it, but play it to have a feel for it. And this one is always enjoyed by many. And so those are the 3 that I got to show, teach, and play over the Christmas. I think this was actually Boxing Day. So that being said, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, the listener, for taking the time to, have a listen to what we've been playing, and hopefully we've convinced you to go get some games. And of course, to the content creators, especially this week, because, holiday season, we're all busy. And I am very appreciative to those people who took the time and popped something in there. And of course, to the rest of the What You've Been Playing Wednesday cast, we're getting to the end of the year. Thank you so much for an entire year of contributions, quality content, and of course, costing me some money, because I've gone out and bought so many games because of the recommendations and positive reviews from the collaborators on What You've Been Playing Wednesday. So thank you. Always, I totally appreciate it. You guys are all awesome. And that being said, keep your stick on the ice and take care out there, eh?
Hello, everybody. It's Robb and Anna-Marie from the Meeple Dungeon.
Hello.
And we are back again, recording for the What You've Been Playing Wednesdays podcast. And we have one game to talk about this week. What game is that, Anna-Marie?
That game is The Turing Machine, designed by Fabian Gradel and Johan Levitt, art by Sebastian Bezos, and published by Scorpio Masqué.
Yeah, Turing Machine.
Not The Turing Machine, my mistake. Turing Machine.
Yeah. So this is based off of a code-cracking, old-school punch card computing system. This is a very